Have you ever heard a knock on your door in the middle of the night and felt your heart stop? Imagine waking up at exactly 3 a.m., hearing 3 slow knocks, even though no one should be outside. What would you do? This is a fictional horror story, so turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and let's begin. My name is Daniel, and I lived alone in a small house at the edge of a quiet town. Every night was peaceful until one cold winter evening when I woke up to the sound of 3 loud knocks on my front door. Knock, knock, knock. I looked at my phone. The screen read exactly 3 a.m. My heart was racing, but I convinced myself it was probably the wind, or maybe someone needed help. I slowly walked toward the door and looked through the peephole. No one was there. The street was empty, and the moonlight covered everything in a pale glow. I took a deep breath and went back to bed. Just as I closed my eyes, the knocking came again. Knock, knock, knock. This time it was louder. I rushed to the door and looked outside through the window. Still nothing. Not a single person. Not even a stray dog. I locked every window and every door before trying to sleep again. The next night, it happened again. Exactly 3 a.m. 3 slow knocks. I refused to answer. The knocking stopped after a minute, but then I heard footsteps walking around my house. Slow, heavy, careful footsteps, as if someone was searching for a way inside. I grabbed a flashlight and looked outside every window, but there was no one. The footsteps continued for nearly 10 minutes before suddenly stopping. The following morning, I found muddy footprints circling my house, but they ended in the middle of the yard, as if whoever made them had simply disappeared into thin air. I showed the footprints to my neighbor, but he looked frightened instead of surprised. He quietly told me that years ago, an old man had lived in my house. Every night at 3 a.m., someone knocked on his door. He answered on the 7th night, and after that, no one ever saw him again. I laughed nervously, thinking it was just another local ghost story. But deep inside, I couldn't stop thinking about it. That night, I stayed awake with every light in the house turned on. At exactly 3 a.m., the knocking returned. Knock, knock, knock. Then a cold voice whispered from outside, "I know you're awake." My blood froze. I stayed completely silent. The whisper came again, this time closer. "Open the door." Suddenly, every light in my house went out. My flashlight refused to work. My phone had no signal. I could hear slow breathing on the other side of the door. It wasn't human. It sounded too deep, too slow, too unnatural. Then something scratched across the wood. Long, sharp, dragging scratches. I backed away as quietly as I could, but the knocking suddenly came from inside my bedroom instead of the front door. Knock, knock, knock. I turned around, and my bedroom closet door was slowly opening by itself. A tall black figure stepped out. It had no face, only 2 glowing white eyes staring directly at me. It smiled, without having a mouth. I ran toward the front door, unlocked it, and rushed outside. The street was completely empty. No cars, no lights, no people. Every house around me looked abandoned. When I looked back at my own house, every window was filled with dark figures silently watching me. Then I heard the same whisper behind my ear. "You answered." I spun around, but there was no one there. The next thing I remember was waking up in my bed the following morning. Everything looked normal. The scratches were gone. The muddy footprints had vanished. I convinced myself it had all been a nightmare until I checked my phone. There was a new voice recording, saved at exactly 3 a.m. My hands shook as I pressed play. It was my own voice whispering, "Come back tomorrow." Since that night, Every morning at exactly 3 a.m., another recording appears on my phone, each one getting louder, each one sounding less like me and more like something else. I never answer the door anymore, but every night, the knocking gets closer. Sometimes it sounds like it's right behind me. And if you ever wake up at exactly 3 a.m. and hear 3 slow knocks at your door, whatever you do, don't answer. If you enjoyed this fictional horror story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for more scary stories. Sweet dreams, if you can sleep.